Hey, hi Alok. Welcome to the first program of MAD series
Hi,
of
Rajveer.
of I4 Mentors Foundation. As you know, MAD stands for Making a Difference. I know Alok, you are very passionate about startups and helping them succeed. So, would like to first, before diving deep into your views on startups, why don't you share a little bit about your own experience? If you could share about your profile and make yourself familiar with the audience.
Thanks, Rajveer, for having me on the show today. I've been working with startups for the last 5 years. Before that, I had a long corporate career, having worked in fields of advertising, marketing, and media for over 25 years. I am myself an alumnus of IIT Kanpur and I am Bangalore. And actually, that's one of the reasons why I got seriously into mentoring because the alumnus of IIM Bangalore and IIT Delhi got together under the blessings of the incubators of both the institutes to form a joint mentoring program. And the objective of the joint mentoring program was to help startups, especially those in the early stages, with mentoring by the alumnus who have rich experience and who could help these startups with their shared experiences. So we have been at it for the last 3.5 years. You were, of course, the founder of that entire endeavor and initiative. And since then, we have had a long journey. I've personally mentored, I don't know, maybe 200 or 300 startups over the last 5 years across different segments and categories. It's a great learning exercise for me. I'm sure the startups get some benefit from my experience, but I definitely learn from the passion and zeal of these young entrepreneurs, their entire enterprising spirit, their risk-taking ability, and the most important thing is the fact that they are thinking everything new. They're trying to redefine almost every aspect of business as we know today across every field, and they're innovating, whether through the use of technology or innovative business models, innovative business practices, and kind of reinventing every bit of the wheel. So it's very exciting and fascinating. In the process, I also end up learning a lot about new technologies and their application. More importantly, the application which eventually turns into a new business. And it's been good going, and we are now looking to go faster forward and excite more people into mentoring and eventually also into investing. People who have the experience and the knowledge to share with the young entrepreneurs. And the young entrepreneurs provide their enterprising spirit to create companies of the future. So let me now ask you a question, Raj. You are the the force behind founding this entire joint mentoring program. So what kind of inspired you or motivated you to start this program? And how has your journey been so far? And also tell us a bit about what you have been doing before that, your corporate journey, and you've had a very distinguished career in the field of technology as well. So tell us a bit about that.
Hey, thanks, Alok. One of the primary reasons for starting this initiative was to help startups. I was busy with my own corporate career, and this was something which just came by our way. I met I'm Bangalore director in one of the meetings at Delhi, and we wanted to bring a piece of I'm Bangalore to Delhi, and that's how we brought in a piece of NSR cell to Delhi. Had a tie-up with IIT, Delhi, signed an MOU, and we got started. So the intent was to help startups, and so that's you've been part of the journey now. Prior to that, I've been in, I was in with HCL Technologies for about 11 years, and it was a wonderful experience. The reason I say that is because I started about 10 to 11 different practices when I was at HCL. I started with PeopleSoft, then I started product development, and then I started business consulting practice, and I mean multiple new initiatives, got global awards for innovation. So I was kind of an entrepreneur, and I thought maybe I can leverage that knowledge Not that it was directly applicable, because the resources are available in abundance in when you're inside a
Right.
corporate, right? A lot of small things are taken care of. So that's the background. So so now that we are together in this journey, we are about 40 odd mentors who are working on this. So how do you think mentoring makes uh, a difference to a startup's success?
Having interacted with a large number of startups, I find that the two most important aspects for a startup to succeed is one, which is capital, which everybody understands and knows. But actually, I personally believe that more than capital, it's the mentoring, and not just at an early stage, but on an ongoing basis, which can help shape the success of the startup. At the end of the day, capital also has to be deployed properly, right? So while there are lots of invested startups, not everybody becomes successful. Of course, we hear of the big success stories, but people forget the many times more startups who have got funding and who fail. And the reason they fail is because they have not done things right the way it should have been done in the business. They've not been able to understand the market properly. They've not been able to develop technology the way they had anticipated. They've not been able to understand consumers. Most often, I believe startups especially falter in areas of understanding customers and consumers and in being able to build appropriate go-to-market strategies, whether it is about brand building or marketing or having the right sales and distribution channels, etc. And this is true for not just D2C startups, direct-to-consumer startups. It is also true for B2B startups, right? At the end of the day, you have to find customers. Unless you are customer centric and you are able to get customers, your business is not going to succeed. So I especially in my mentoring focus on those areas in being able to find the right go-to-market approach for startups and um, focusing on what I call the demand side. If there are two aspects of the business, the supply side, which takes care of the supply chain and manufacturing, etc., and then the demand side, which is all about acquiring customers and being able to service them on an ongoing basis. So I focus more on that side, and that also it comes from my experience in long experience in marketing and in advertising and so on. So I understand that area better. But I find that there is a lot of help required. Plus, additionally, I believe the startups can also benefit from the networking that people like us can provide through our long careers. We have built a lot of networks across different companies, industry bodies, policymakers, what have you. And therefore, as mentors, we can bring these networks and connections to the startups to get easy access to potential opportunities. Is how I would say it. So let me ask you, Rajbi. In our journey of the last 3.5 years of JMP, what has been the specific focus and how did I4 Mentors Foundation emerge from the joint mentoring program?
Yeah, thanks for asking that, Alok. See, initially when we started, we wanted to create a program with a difference. The intent was to not just provide one-to-one mentoring, but to provide a 360-degree view, wherein there is a room full of mentors from different backgrounds who provide multifaceted perspective to the startup. That was the intent. And I thought it would be a much richer experience for the startups. So startups appreciated that. But what we realized as we went along was there's a lack of discipline in the whole mentoring process because startups were doing, advice shopping. So instead of, following the advice of the mentor in a disciplined manner, they were actually going around talking to multiple mentors, taking their advice. And that we felt largely because it was free. And so therefore, in order to instill discipline in the process, we felt there was a need to charge them a token fees, and for that we needed an entity. That's why we created a Section 8 company called I4 Mentors Foundation. And along the way, obviously there have been many more learnings. For example, another learning is that startups also need funding, and that's one of the key requirements. That they don't realize that they don't value mentoring so much, um, because they're really not in a position to kind of see value of mentoring, and so therefore they value funding more than the mentoring itself. So what we realized was maybe we can combine mentoring and funding, and that could help us create more value for the startups. Sometimes we feel we are more keen about the startup success, than the startup themselves. Probably because of the lack of experience, they don't know what they're doing, but it's kind of hurts to see them going down the wrong path. But I guess that's a part of the learning. I hope that answered your question, Alok.
Yes, that's great. So that's an interesting point to bring up. That obviously startups need both funding and mentoring. And what I my observation has been that there are a lot of angel networks out there which are providing early stage funding to startups. But my understanding is that almost all of them are primarily investing, and then some of the investors may be interested in providing mentoring themselves. So I4 Mentors or I4 Angels, the angel arm of I4 Mentors, is focusing on providing the investment and mentoring as a package to startups, right? Am I right?
Yes, that's
And
correct. Yeah.
what is the thinking behind that?
As you said earlier, Alok, the most important element which leads to success is mentoring. Um, Startup founders are generally inexperienced. They have not built businesses. They have not done business scaling. They have some idea of how to do product development, how to take them to the market. They have not really done it before. So there is, even if it's a great idea, they really don't know how to build a business out of it. So therefore, we believe mentoring is extremely important for success of a startup. Obviously, as you said, capital is equally important, but capital without mentoring, if you invest the money, that money may go waste. So therefore, in order to protect the investors' interest as well as to ensure success for startups, I think both mentoring and investing should go together. That's the reason why we felt that there's a need for a new program out there, which provides both these services to the startups. So it protects interests of startups as well as of investors, and reduces the risk, and creates a better probability of success.
So yes, this is a unique model where we are providing a high value combination of early stage investing as well as mentoring to startups to ensure better success. And this is born out of the conviction of the two institutes behind us, which is IIM Bangalore and IIT Delhi, which are very keen on developing, a large pipeline of successful startups, and not only startups for the sake of startups, but startups which are uh, going to solve specific problems. And that is why we have also identified three specific areas for ourselves in terms of investment and mentoring. One is the entire area of electric mobility. The second is in the area of health tech, and the third is in the areas of deep tech. So I'll talk a little bit about electric mobility, Rajbir, and then you can fill in for the health tech and deep tech and why we chose them. So electric mobility, as we understand, the automobiles sector or the mobility sector is the largest industry, single industry in the country, and it's also the largest employer. But it's undergoing tremendous change, especially with the advent of um, uh, energy, clean energy from electricity. And there may be in the future also new products coming in from hydrogen and other materials, etc. So mobility as we know it is for sure going to change over the next uh, 10, 20 years. And therefore, that will present a large opportunity for startups to come out with new technologies, new business solutions, etc., which takes on the existing industry and helps kind of uh, over a period of time, completely change the way we look at mobility solutions, whether it's vehicles, whether it is ownership models, etc. And there is tremendous amount of work to be done. It's a problem which helps also solve one of the biggest issues for mankind, which is going green, right? Because global warming is a huge threat, and therefore going green is a big endeavor for all countries. So this is one thing that will help us environment and climate more friendly. And that's the reason why we are focusing on electric mobility. Rajdeep, why don't you talk about the vision we have set for health tech and deep tech and why we have chosen those two areas?
Yeah, thanks, Alok. I would certainly like to talk about both those areas. And at some point, I would also like to hear from you about the initiative that you're taking in the area of electric vehicles network that we're trying to create, the EVnet program that we started, a few months back. And why? So I think healthcare is very close to my heart. One of the reasons why we believe healthcare is important for India as a country is because of the huge cost of healthcare. The total cost of healthcare for a common person can be very high. It can be very devastating for their personal lives. It pushes a lot of people into poverty, and that's from a personal perspective. But from a larger perspective, I believe healthcare is also going through significant changes. A lot of new innovations are happening, and it is becoming more universal in terms of access. And diagnostics is becoming cheaper. It's becoming easier, and the prevention is getting a lot more emphasis. There are a lot of new technologies, new which are coming in, which can actually reduce the cost of healthcare through prevention. Then there is a lot of work happening in the technology space, wherein expertise can be brought to bear through collaborative models. And also analytics can be used to improve diagnostics. So there's a lot of change that is technology led that's happening in the healthcare space, and a lot of new business models are emerging. I think there's a very clear opportunity to help startups succeed in that area. And we also have deep expertise among mentors. We have people with clinical expertise, with devices manufacturing, with business models development. So we have deep expertise in the healthcare space in our mentors group. So that's the reason why we're focusing on healthcare as an area. And the other area about deep tech, I've been in technology all my life, but deep tech is not just about IT or digital, right? It's more about research-based projects. So when our close association with institutes like IIT Delhi, you're from IIT Kanpur, we have mentors from IIT Roorkee. So our close association with labs and technology institutes provide us access and an opportunity to help a lot of research that's happening here, to help faculty members, to help students in these institutes to start their own ventures. I think that's another way to give back and contribute to the society. And it's also a business opportunity. It's also an opportunity to create wealth, both for the students, faculty members, and for nation at large. So, and it's a huge opportunity. It can be a really huge wealth creator. So that's another reason. That's one of the reasons why we are focusing on deep tech as a space. A lot of R&D work happening, which is actually just getting converted into papers and get filed as IPs, does not get filed as IPs and get filed somewhere as a thesis, but does not get commercialized. I think there's a very clear opportunity there, Alok. And I don't know if that kind of answers your question, but those are the two areas where I'm personally very passionately, uh, you know, driven by.
Fascinating. That does answer my question, and it's really exciting. You asked me about EVnet. So one of the things we have found is that to build electric mobility, it's not one or two players who can build the electric mobility solution. It's an entire ecosystem which requires everybody from technology developers, people who are constantly working on new materials, new engineering solutions, etc., to build uh, better batteries, better motors, and so on. But also in areas of software, there's a lot more software going into vehicles these days, and the cars are cars, even two wheelers, all vehicles are becoming connected. They're getting autonomous features, etc. So there's lots of new technology going in, including a lot of AI, which will eventually lead to development of autonomous vehicles. Then there are the entire new set of component manufacturers which will have to emerge. There will be new uh, OEMs, original equipment manufacturers, as they're called, which is the assemblers or the vehicle manufacturers. There is the entire network of charging which needs to come up. There is the entire front end, which is the sales and service network, which has to come. And I believe strongly that the ownership models of electric vehicles will also be different from the previous vehicles. So less people will own personal vehicles, and more people are likely to embrace social mobility. There is a big momentum in commercial vehicles towards electric mobility because running costs are very high with fuel vehicles increasing all the time, whereas electric vehicles could be a lot cheaper to operate on a regular basis, which cuts down the cost of delivering goods in the logistics sector. So there are multiple industries which need to come together, and then there are affiliated industries like logistics, like mobility and taxi and materials technology and so on, which all need to work together. So the idea of um, EVnet was to focus on not just individual startups, but to try and create an ecosystem, a network where multiple players can work together with each other. Just because you can create a new electric vehicle doesn't mean it will be successful, because you need an entire sales network, you need a service network, you need a charging infrastructure behind it, and so on. Then it's likely to be successful. There needs to be proper financing and so on. Um, so similarly, if you're a component manufacturer, then how do you ensure that you get the cheapest raw materials? How do you ensure that you get access to different front-end customers and so on? So that's what we are enabling by putting this network together, where various players uh, come together under one roof and try and approach projects and not just single problems to solve. So we solve the overall problem, for example, of uh, commercial vehicles transitioning to electric mobility, or last mile passenger collections, for example, from a metro station to homes or offices through electric mobility, where there can be uh, a lot of efficiency we can bring into the system by offering these new vehicles, but it requires multiple players to come together.
Yep, fair point. I think it's a good thought. I'm sure with such deep capability that you bring to the table, the electric vehicle startups will, along with other mentors, will definitely find it easier to succeed. So thank you very much, Alok. It was wonderful talking to you.